I love using grid journaling as a process to challenge myself. This is where I will experiment, I will try new things. And when you risk things, when you try new things, well, you run the risk of it not working out. But don't worry, because even when it doesn't work out, you win. So, as I go through this tutorial, creating a grid journal, I'm going to share with you what I consider wins, successes, or learns, which is also a win. So I decided that I have this napkin that has this all over very small pattern. It's not good for focal images. I could cover a uh, canister or something with it. That would make it perfectly good. But I decided I'm going to try to put it as a base for my grid journal. And instead of gluing it down with the fluid matte medium, I am going to use the iron decoupage technique. This is a large piece. I'm putting the whole napkin pretty much down. I want to not have as many wrinkles. So I am trying the iron decoupage technique for the whole page. I'm putting a good coat of it, letting it dry. Then I put the napkin on top after I've removed the excess plies, parchment paper, and then I'm just going to use my mini iron to glue it down. I start in the middle and then I work my way out right to the ends. And that is a definite win. When you have a large napkin to glue down, using the iron decoupage technique is so very helpful. It eliminates a lot of the wrinkles. It's quick, it's easy. Definite win. Here I'm just making sure that all the sides are done. Then, usually I use an emery board that I got from Dollar Tree, but this time I grabbed the sanding block that you can get at the hardware store. You can also get them at Dollar Tree. And I wanted to see if that worked. And oh, well, there's another win. It works in spades. Super easy. Actually, I like it better than the emery board that I got at Dollar Tree. So now we have the background. Now I want to seal this. I want to turn it into a non-porous. So I'm going to use clear gesso. You can use fluid matte medium. This is something I've done before. This isn't something I'm risking, but I want to seal this. I don't want that raw napkin. As I'm looking at this napkin, I love the colors from it, and that inspires me. So that is a win. But we'll talk about whether that napkin, using that as a base for grid journaling, actually paid off. So I got these coasters from a restaurant. I had taken the ones that were on our table, and when she saw that they were gone, she actually gave me some more. So don't be afraid to ask for things. And I like the shape of this. So I am tracing this with my Inktense pencil. You could trace key cards, you could trace squares, post-it notes, circles. With grid journaling, the shape doesn't matter. You can change it up or you can do it always the same. I just thought I like this kind of hexagon shape, so I'm going to use it. So once I've traced them all out, I am activating it with my angle brush. I'm just putting water on it and running it along the Inktense pencil mark and activating it. And I'm doing that now because I don't want to activate it later when I'm gluing things down, when I'm putting wet medium on it. I want it completely activated. I also want to make it a little bit bolder so that you as viewers can see this. See where the hexagon shape is. Now I've made a template for this and that way I can stamp or stencil and not get it on the off parts. So here I am stamping with the script stamp. I put the template on there and that way, I don't get any of it outside of the hexagons. So that's a definite tip for you. And because I had put that coat of clear gesso on, I was able to clean up anything that I really didn't like. Now, here's where I start thinking that the using that napkin is a learn. It was too busy. There's too much going on. Um, it's just mudding the waters. So it's a definite learn. Now I got some new stencil butters, and some of those colors are the same as the colors in the napkin. And I'm pulling the colors out of the napkin, and that is a win. I've got this watermelon color, this olive color, and this tangerine color. And that was a definite win using the colors. I decided I'm going to just put some of this on with a key card here. I'm using the tangerine color here, and I'm thinking that this is going to be fairly bold. I love the iridescence of these stencil butters, but as soon as I put this on, I realize that they're more, they're not as opaque. They're not as bold as what I would like, and it's not giving me the effect. So this, fortunately, is a learn. Especially with that background. If this was white, doing what I'm doing here might have worked out better. So, but what up with the background that I had with the napkin? So I'm processing this as I go and making adjustments as I go. Every time I learn something, I'm making an adjustment, saying, oh, okay, that worked, that didn't work. What can I do differently? How can I make this work? Because I'll be doing another page. And if it's a win, I try something and it's a win, then I'm going to make sure I do it again. And if it's a learn, like using the stencil butters right now, then I may have to figure out how to make that work. So took a little break in between here, and then I decided, that napkin on the background, there's just so much going on. I need to get rid of some of that. So I grabbed some gesso and I'm gessoing the spaces, adding some white space in. And yeah, that, is really the problem. That was a bad decision to use that napkin the way I used it in the background. So here I'm just using the angle brush and I'm getting gesso kind of watered down a little bit and just really knocking back all that pattern that's in that napkin. Little bits are peeking through, but for the majority, I'm kind of pushing it way, way, way back. And this was a win. Now I've got a neutral, plainer background that my stamping or stenciling is going to show up a little bit more, but I'm not done learning. So yes, I've used these colors, the fern, the tangerine, and the watermelon. And then I thought, oh, I'm going to make some collage papers. I need these with paints. So to get the watermelon, quinacridone magenta and Naples yellow gives me the watermelon color. To get the tangerine color, I'm using yellow oxide and cadmium yellow with a little bit of gesso. And to get the olive color, I am using Hooker's green and brown. And I mix those up and I tested them out on the paper, and that was a win. So then I'm just painting on some scrap paper the three colors that I pulled from the napkin, I found in the stencil butter. Now, people might ask, Karen, why aren't you using the stencil butters? Well, when I put them on the paper, it was off camera, because of the iridescence, they weren't as bold as what I was going for. So I'm making these collage papers and I'm planning to rip these up and use them to collage on. But while that was drying, I got confused, I got sidetracked, and I decided to do some mark making with those colors by just using the paintbrush, by stenciling in here. And while some of the mark making is fine and the stenciling I like, it's not giving me the boldness that I'm going for. So in the application of what I'm doing, so I'm using those same colors that I made those collage papers with, and basically ending up in the same place with too much going on in the background that's very flat, not enough solid color, not enough interest for me. So definite learn, but sometimes you want to do too much. Here I'm just stenciling with my stencil brush, adding those colors in, but I'm finding each of the little grids to be very lackluster. They're boring to me. They're not, they don't match what's in my head. So definite learn. I did like using these stencils. I like what they've added. Just how I'm using it didn't work in this. So those collage papers, I started ripping them up and layering them on. And I'm loving the boldness. So that's a definite win. I think definitely my mind was very cluttered. I was trying to do too much. Less is more. So I'm just layering up those colors and I'm really, really loving the color combo here. So that napkin, while using it on this, really is rather useless. It did give me the color scheme, and I love this color scheme, that tangerine, that watermelon, and olive green. I would never have mixed up those colors without this. So that is a definite win. So once I have that on there, I decide to do some stenciling with black on top. And this is bringing everything together. And each one I'm doing just a little bit different with the same color and same stencil, but just a little different way of applying it in that hexagon. And that adding the black contrast with the weight of those small squares was a win. So then I grab my angle brush and I'm shading with black around the outside edge. It ties in with the black that I just stenciled. It makes it stand, the hexagons stand out from the busy napkin background that's in the open space. So that was a win because it allows you to see those grids where before you just got lost because of the way I used that napkin. Here I'm doing some stamping with some numbers. Totally useless. Didn't need that at all. So that was a learn. I'm convinced that I need to use the stencil butter, so I'm applying that on there. The stencil butters, to get the maximum benefit of them, is this the way I've used them here. It doesn't really add to it. So I stop. I do it on the couple of them there with the one color. Then I use my circle punch and punch out of the collage papers, and that's a win because circles make everything look better. I just still needed a little bit more, something to make it all work together. So on some of them I put one, on some of them I put two. It gave a pop of color, a bit of shape. Then I looked up, I had these sheep. I cut out the sheep and put them on top of the grids because I'm just turning the grid journal into a art journal page, and I'm gluing, 5 or 6 of these sheep down, and I typed out the sentiment, count blessings, not sheep. So all in all, I ended up with a cute art journal page, lots of wins, lots of learning going on. That's all good. Sometimes I just don't know when to stop. So the overall lesson is less is more. Don't attempt to do everything, and keep going. And then take the lessons, the things that you've learned, and apply them on the next page and the next page. And that's how you're going to grow as an artist. And there is the finished page, which at the end of it, I do like it, although it was a little frustrating at times. So I used the colors that I drew from the napkin, but using the napkin, beyond that, that didn't work. But the color scheme was a definite win that I'm happy with and that I am going to move forward with. So as you're doing your art journaling, think of it as a win or as a learning opportunity, and use that information to grow as an artist. Until next time, go get creative.